Harlem is mine.
Some artists are built for one lane, but Mustafa Shakir...
When I got Marvel, I lost my shit.
Hi, I'm Mustafa Shakir, otherwise known as Jet Black. And
He's built for the whole damn universe.
Then it boils down to what is success. Success for me is just be patient, like chill, enjoy the ride. Everything that's happening is making you. The less important part of what I do is success in any of these fields that I'm in. What's most important is that I grow as a human being.
How did you stay grounded?
It's not about any of this.
What's it about?
My connection is source, God.
I'm so excited to introduce my friend, Mustafa Shakir. So I'm so happy to have Mustafa Shakir here, an old friend, and we just had this wonderful introduction of you. So I'm going to get into a little bit of our story and how we met, which, so we go back actually, I'm going to say 25 years, like 24, 25 years.
Easily, yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We met in New York.
Yeah.
And I was 19 years old. I just moved to New York, and you were in the Cool Kids gang in the Labyrinth Theater Company, and like, and you were doing spoken word. And I remember seeing you doing spoken word. I think it was at the New Year weekend Poets Cafe.
Center Stage.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I think that was it because that's where like everybody hung out on 21st Street between 5th and 6th, where
That's right, yeah.
Where Labyrinth used to do all their stuff at.
Yeah, with Jill and
Yeah. We had that thing called the lobby where everybody. It was great. I missed
the
it.
lobby. That's
You remember
right.
the lobby? Yeah, it was great.
That's right.
Such good times.
That's what it was called. Oh my God. Okay. Yeah. And I remember I did like a poem about being too young for you. Not for you specifically, but
I think I remember that. Because everybody was on you. They were like, yo, is he making? So yeah, I can imagine you was like fallback guys. Okay.
like 19-year-olds and yeah. But yeah, I really looked up to you. And then it's funny because I moved to LA. I went back to LA at that point. And I went back to college. But I think I think maybe I graduated from college with that. Yeah, because I was living in Hollywood. And I walk in because I'm like, okay, I guess I better like get in shape. And I mean, you've always been like the fitness king, and you were my first personal trainer. And I was like, wait, Mustafa?
That's just, I mean, I would say rando, but it's not at all. Nothing random. But like, yeah, I know. Across the country, years later.
Yeah.
Hi. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I'll never forget because you were still training me before, like I basically was about to move to London, and I'll never forget you told me these words of wisdom because I just fallen in love with this English man, and you were like, whatever you do, like hold a piece of you for you, and you were like, make sure that you don't you don't forget who you are, and you stay true to yourself, and you keep taking care of yourself no matter what. And it was, I don't know, it was just like this piece of advice that I really that stuck with me all these years later. So,
wow. Yeah, you never know, right? When you're saying stuff. I mean, yeah, I was going through it at that time. So I was really sensitive about relationships and learning a lot. So yeah, I was probably just sharing my own lessons.
It's seeing like you, I didn't, because I didn't know all that about you. And then we saw each other probably 10 years later at Burning Man.
Right.
On the
Pop-ups. We good at the pop-ups. I love it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Good.
No, go ahead.
No, I was just laughing because I remember I was in a bow tie and some underwear, and I had, you know what I'm saying? Like, it was a moment. It was a moment for sure.
Yeah, and so like, I've been following your career from afar so now it's been probably over 10 years. This is the first time we've seen each other since that moment in Burning Man. Yeah. And I've been following your career, from afar, and it's been really amazing for me because as somebody who doesn't really like to be put in a box either. Like seeing you shift from, from music to actor to, I mean, you do martial arts. You do, what am I missing?
I do a lot of stuff. I'm healing, astrology. You know, the list goes on and on. It's a beautiful frustration to do so many things, I'd say.
Mm.
So yeah, I could probably name like 5 other things that I'm really like steeped in. But yeah, that's just how I'm built, and so I just roll with it. You know,
You're Leo as well.
I am. I am. Leos unite. Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, so Whimsy and Grit, like the reason I created this was really to talk to people not just about their process, but also like how they show up in the world and how they help promote themselves through all of the different faces or hats that you wear. And so in the hopes that like it can help other artists along the way and help them like build their careers, especially in this day and age where, Hollywood's reconstructing itself. So are the record labels, social media is there, but it's also people are, it's like bigger than ever, but also, I think people are like weary of it. So I'm interested, like, I guess let's go back to the very beginning. What did you want to be when you were little? Like when you were a little kid and you saw yourself, when people asked you, like, what do you want to be when you grew up? What was your answer?
I remember there was a moment my stock answer was lawyer. I was really good with words as a kid. I knew how to convince people of things. And then, like, I wanted to be an actor for a hot minute. Like, it's because I was watching Different Strokes with Gary Coleman. And it's about these 2 Black kids from Harlem who gets adopted by this rich white man. And, like, they were living the life. And I'm watching this on TV and I'm thinking, I want to do what that guy right there is doing. I know this is not real, right? It's not real, but I want to do what this guy is doing. And, my family wasn't in a position, philosophically nor just socially to do anything about that, so it got discouraged. So I remember that went away. And I remember, it's like as life went on, what I was good at was business and, making deals. So I had always been doing business, always, selling stuff, brokering things. And so when it came time to really decide what I was going to do, I was like, okay, well, I'm going to just formalize my business degree in law. I'm going to do a double major.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And that was, I was that convinced, I got accepted to Cornell, a program there, and I was like, that's it. This makes perfect sense. And then I got up there and I was going to microeconomics classes in the morning and dying, literally. And they're like, oh my guys, like, I know how to do business. This is not business. This is something else, what they're teaching here. And
what were they teaching? Like, what was that?
Well, marginal cost, average cost, microeconomics, all of that, numbers. And it's like things that just, if you're an artistic person, they just numb you. There's nothing. Or at least at that time. And that was enough for me to recognize that when I went to my elective, which was English in the afternoon, and I was writing poetry, I felt alive. And, the poetry I was writing, everybody was really gassing me up there. They were like, oh my God, you need to like do that, and I was like, hard to ignore. Right. And so I was like, okay, it's something I took for granted because I was just always doodling, always putting thoughts down. Like, I think art was doing me more than I was doing art. So I took it for granted. But when these people started giving me this reflection, that's when I was keying in on that. And then it was obvious that this microeconomics shit was killing me. So when I came back to the city, I was talking to my mom and I was like, yo, I know I've like bust my ass to do all this, but I don't know where this is going to go for me. And she was taking me to a writing workshop at the Negro Ensemble Company. I'll tell the story several times, but I'll tell it to you too, because this is new.
New group. Yeah.
Because interviews, right? But I got to Negro Ensemble Company thinking I was going to do some writing stuff. And it was a scene in monologue class. And I just was enamored, and
Mm.
I thought I was going to just watch and then break out. But they were like, hey, what did you come here to do? And my mom was like, go read a poem. I read one of my poems. They were blown away. They said, you got to get this play, zoom in and assign, and get this monologue. It was Giancarlo Esposito. He's the first one to do this. I see something in you. And I did it, came back, and they just carried me. They put me in plays, all kinds of things. I mean, I got my first TV gig at New York Undercover from a Negro Ensemble company, from a lady who I barely talked to through a referral. And I had a guest star before I even knew what an agent or a manager was. You know what I mean? And so
Oh, wow.
that's how I got into it. I was like, I guess I should keep going. And so 3 years passed, and I wasn't in school no more. And so I got kidnapped. The bug bit me, and I was just following my nose at that point. That's how it began.
How much of it intentional is it, and how much is it, like you said, following your nose, since then?
Um,
Yeah.
there's been like, I was thinking about how to talk about it, because like each time in interviews, I feel like there's not a stock answer. I listen to other interviews, my experience feels very different,
Mm.
because I wanted to do it before, but like I was trying to do something else, and I got kind of sucked in, and while I was enjoying it, I kind of had this imposter syndrome the whole time. Kind of like,
Mm.
I've seen these people, like that's all they lived and breathed the theater, and they lived and breathed all of these things. And that wasn't my experience. And I was learning on the fly. And so I had that inner conflict in me, and it made me not commit as much as I wanted to, until like I got
Mm.
to California. I know it may sound crazy, like, you doing all this stuff, how you mean you're not committed? I just, in my mind, I had an out. I had an out. I could always go back to school. I can always, do that thing that I was going to do before, or help the world. Like I had, there's a few things that I thought were more important than the art.
Mm.
Um, but when I got to California, and I hit like a rock bottom, and I was like, I had a dark moment, and I was like, well, what are you doing? And
Mm.
I looked at, how I was conducting myself, and I was like, it was an aha, where I was like, you're half-assing it. You're not showing up fully. And, I know whatever for reasons and excuses, you've got to commit. And so I committed. And a large part for me is like, it's hard for me to ask for help and stuff.
Mm.
So, and this is the industry of relationships. And so I was like, fuck that. I'm gonna call people, like wherever I'm lacking and not like moving, I'm gonna ask for help. And so I called my homeboy Dorian Missick. God bless his heart. I love him for it, man. Always will. Because it's hard, people, they won't help you when you help, and or you ask for help. So it's like a tricky situation. But if you don't help, like you may not get it. Squeaky wheels get the oil. But
Yeah.
Dorian helped me out, man. He introduced me to Robert Bluestone, and she came in, and she was like, she saw my situation, and she just like pretty much fortified and strengthened everything that I was not doing well, and that was falling apart due to lack of commitment. So I went from like no auditions, like sitting in situations that I know weren't going to go anywhere in terms of representation, to like having general meetings, and like everything started moving. And I realized, well, the reason why I'm not working is because people don't know me. And they didn't, like I was underexposed. And so Robin Bluestone, my relationship with her, we came up, and that was a commitment. And I feel like the last 10 years has been amazing, because I've done more than I've done in my entire career, and it was based on that decision to recommit. But I feel like now there is even another commitment that's coming in, where I'm like, oh, you can go even harder, sir. Or not even harder. You can commit even deeper, sir. There's another layer, and I'm like, wow, I thought that I had committed, and I'm like, oh, so if I'm doing this right, this is probably lifelong. I'm gonna probably keep having these moments where it deepens, I engage more, and the output changes, or shifts into something that is more authentically me. Because what am I doing if not learning and understanding myself better over time? So
But where did that come from? Your thought of, was there something that triggered, like, oh, how did you know that that was the thing that you were missing? Was, first of all, like, to recommit, and second of all, to ask for help? Because it's not, people can go their entire lives and not kind of have that like wake up moment. Was there something that happened, or was it?
Yeah, I'm not one of those people like there's like in everything I do, it's the less important part of what I do is success in any of these fields that I'm in.
Mhm.
What's most important is that I grow as a human being. And so I'm locked into that. I know nothing outside of me is going to make me happy. And so when I'm checking myself, you ask yourself questions. Yourself says, oh, you want to know? Well, this is where you're lacking. You listening? And I'm like, yeah, I'm listening. Okay, well, go do something about that now. Take one step. And then you take the step. And if you develop this relationship with yourself, you can hear. And yourself says, do this, and you do it, and then it opens up. And then you go through that, and the next step comes, and then you do that. It's like Michael Jackson walking on the sidewalk, and it lights up everywhere his foot falls. You know what I mean? You gotta just keep moving and know that the sidewalk will light up. But it definitely is a process of intuition, and knowing.
And how do you know when it's like intuition and not your ego, or not, something else coming in there?
It's trial and error, right?
Hmm.
Sometimes I listen to my ego, and I'm like, oh, usually that doesn't feel good. Usually it's based in shame or fear, despair, something like that. And usually there's not enough energy to really get up off of myself. But when it's like based in inspiration and a kernel dropping, of light dropping into the center, asking to be born, then it. You're just like, oh, okay. You know what I mean? And you
Hmm.
do it. There's no ego involved. You're just like, this is scary. So what? You know what I mean? So what? Go through, jump the net. Oh, and then it's got to keep doing it. And the nets keep getting scarier and scarier, but just got to remember the first one.
So it's funny because I can relate a lot to, I think I always thought when I was in LA, the fact that I could have a backup plan, right? Like I had a lot of friends who were like, all they could, like similar to you, like all they could do was act. That was the only thing. And so they had to commit because there was nothing else they could possibly do. But when you have other things that you actually, it's funny because I got accepted to Cornell as well. Yeah, I didn't go because
Good for
I
you.
went. Well, because like they showed me around, and then they showed me the suicide bridge, and I was like, I'm out.
Gorgeous. Why don't they big that up so much? It's like a feature. It's like, here's the gymnasium, here's the eat hall, and this is where people kill themselves.
I,
Usually during, the end of the first quarter. It's like, oh my God.
yeah, I was like, that doesn't seem like something I want to do to myself yet.
Yeah.
Um, so I went to LA, but I think that was another. I think I was too young to go to LA, but that's another story.
Right.
But yeah, like how. So yeah, you knew that you had to recommit to acting. So at what point did you get into music, and was music always in like always something inside of you, or
Yeah.
yeah, tell me a bit more about
Yeah.
that.
I was doing music before I was doing acting. Like I was like, part of my
Mm,
writing, which what made, going to that English class great is because I was already, seasoned in terms of like writing rhymes, writing poetry, what have you. I had been in the group already. It was like, I was serious about it.
mm,
But the thing was, it's like music was hard for me because like at 18, I had this out of body experience where I realized, like, even though I came from the streets in Harlem and I was in all of that, and movies like New Jack City and Juice and all that were about my life, I couldn't rap about that. And so,
why not?
like, it was a time of Biggie, and
Mm,
we were coming up at the same time, and I was like, I can't rap about drugs and shit like that no more. I can't
mm.
glorify this. And it was a conflict inside. And so like I had a problem. I didn't like what I was writing about anymore. Like I lost my je ne sais quoi. You know what I'm saying? Like it was easy to be like all on that like gully corner boy stuff. But when I was starting to talk about knowledge and upliftment, it just I hit like a glitch in myself. And so I was wrestling with me over the years as an MC. on how to do it. It's that same backpack versus mainstream, situation. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
uh, you know, so I did it for the love and the backpacking because I couldn't commit to doing the mainstream, and because it was for the backpacking, it wasn't bringing in any money, and it's a struggle. And you know what I
Mm.
mean? I'm just going to do it for the love. I had a few moments where albums were possible, but it just never really got off the ground. And so, like, I realized that no matter what it comes to, ultimately, it's just for me. I love spitting verses over,
Mm.
and there are people that love it, and those that love it, let them, But for me, it's just pretty much for me. You know what I mean?
So would you say that acting is kind of like your bread and butter, and then like you know you talk about the independent kind of backpacking and mainstream. Like, is acting for you more mainstream, or do you also have independent projects that you work on at the same time? Or are your independent projects like your music and astrology and the things for you?
Um, well, I mean, yeah, acting is where I make my make a living, to say the speak,
Yeah.
to say the least, rather. Um, and it'd be wonderful if other things caught fire too. But the truth is, like, for a while, a part of the come up was when I met Robin, and she was introducing me to agents to obviously to represent me, and I went into this meeting, and I'll never forget this. She's like, "So tell me about yourself." I'm like, "Well, I sing, I rap, I tap, I do all of that." You know what I mean? And she listened. She's like, like, not impressed. She was like, "Okay, well, I think you should focus on your acting." Like, just shot me in the stomach. And then she was like, "Okay, well, what are you working on now?" I was like, I got duh. And then I was like, she's like, "Oh, that's great. Well, it's wonderful to meet you." And the meeting was over. And I left out of there with my gut scrambled. And
Uh-huh.
I got in the car, and I was like, something was like, again, intuition was like, I like her.
Hmm.
And I was like, I don't know if she likes me, to my manager, but I want to work with her. And she was like, boom. So we connected, and I put everything away, and I just focused on the acting to meet you. And
Mm.
so she was right. And
Mm.
so, like, but the point is, like, you focus on one thing, you let it catch fire, and then when you got something was like, a roaring blaze, you can stick other irons in the fire. But if you try and put all the irons in right away, you're not going to get a big enough fire. To my manager, but I want to, and that was my issue. Work with her. So I said it's a beautiful frustration. But when I just focused on the acting, and I put everything led to me doing music again.
How so? Because you kind of had secured that in its place, and then you had time for the music, or yeah, how
Right.
did that lead you to the music?
It's just like when you're not thinking about it, it pops up, right? When you're like truly,
Yeah.
when you truly no longer desperate, that's when it's like, hey, I want you, right? Whatever it is, the desire. Um,
Hmm.
but I was fully, committed to just doing my acting thing. And Luke Cage, I booked Luke Cage. I'm at the premiere, so I had done it and everything. Well, actually, there was one moment while I was filming that I was getting ready, and I looked in the mirror, and in my apartment in Harlem, well, before there was on the mirror an old sticker of Pete Rock and CL Smooth, which is a rap group.
Okay.
Old sticker. Um, and I was in the mirror, and I looked at the sticker, and I was like, it dawned on me. All of the episodes that I was doing for Luke Cage, they were all based on Pete Rock songs. And so I just had this moment where it was like, ka-ching, and I was like, anyway, finished getting ready, did my whole thing. Okay, so fast forward to the premiere. I'm at the premiere, and I swear it's the who's who of hip hop. I mean, everybody's there. Sway, KRS-One, and is performing. I mean, it's crazy. And
Yeah.
then in walks Pete Rock. Boom, walks straight towards me, and he's like, "Yo, man, I seen you do your thing, mama, giving me love." And I said, yeah, just take a picture with me, and and so we took a picture, and another month, literally this time, and I was like, I didn't think about it anymore. Went on with the party, and I put out freestyles on Instagram. So I would do that just because, like I said, I love the actual process of spitting lyrics. So I
Yeah.
put it out, and lo and behold, Pete Rock reposted it, and thousands and thousands of people watched this from like nobody. And so I'm like, is this my sign? You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Back in, is the sticker on the door and it was his birthday, the day of the premiere too. So I was just like, is it like a sign? So I was like, I'm gonna try. And so I did. And then everything just started like working out where it was resistance before there was flow. And
Mm.
I did all these projects like this and in a new way. Because before I was waiting on other people to get stuff done, but in this new age, like you can do so much yourself. And so as a re-education, a recommitment
Mm.
to what it means to be an MC now, where I had to like save money and for studio time, you can just buy a studio and have it in your room. You know what I mean? I recorded an album literally in my bedroom.
Yeah.
So it changed the game for me and ultimately how I commit to it. So I feel like it's just an ongoing conversation that you have with yourself on, where your commitments lie. And I think it's truly based upon how much you're breaking through in the various areas that you're focused on, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so it's like what percentage would you say is pushing through versus, listening to the universe? And because I think that's something I know when I was an actress in LA, like I think similar to what you're saying, like it pushed so hard for it to happen and it wasn't happening. And when I let go and like all this, I had this whole other career that started happening.
Mhm.
So I followed that and now, the filmmaking thing is starting to happen. But yeah, what would you tell people like how much to push? And if it's not happening, like what do you do in that case?
I know it's like it's so hard to advise in these areas because it's so nuanced and
Yeah.
specific to each individual. It's like if you are a person who thinks that they're really expressive, but you're quiet. You're like, I was talking, but you said 10 sentences, 3 sentences, like one of those people. It's like,
Yeah.
well, then if that feels like a lot, you probably have to be more extreme. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
like you think that your two is like actually half. So if that's the case, you need to put in five, you know,
Mhm.
and really push past those limits. But I think like the if you do everything that you possibly can and let go, I think you'll be guided. You'll just know, like
Mm.
everything that you can do, like not worry, but just like I learned my lines. I worked on accents. I made sure that my diaphragm is tight. I do physical exercises, make sure that my instrument is toned. I'm doing everything I possibly can. If you do, that's all you can do, and that's when
Mm.
you have to really go. You step back and then allow, right? You know what I mean? It's like you flow, then let it ebb, then you flow, and like if in that dance, you'll find your rhythm. You will. You'll be like you'll know. But yeah, it really is trial and error and constant experimentation. Man. You have to. I mean, that's kind of the role of the artist, is the alchemist. Is you constantly have to be playing with where you're at, because who I am now is not what I was 10 years ago. So the advice that I would give myself then doesn't apply, or advice that I would give myself then applies differently now, you know?
And how do you keep up leveling? Like you said, I'm going to recommit. What does that look like to you? Is it more hours? Is it what?
Um,
Yeah.
well, recommitment for me is like going back to square one, like me. So I go to the body. I usually start with a detox, a cleanse, reset my water, make sure that everything in all the systems are running as optimally as possible. That's where I start, and then the quality of my thoughts are gonna follow that. You know what I
Mm.
mean? And and from there, I listen to what is next. You know what I mean? And like, if you just do this, do what's right in front of you. Next thing you know, what else is necessary will also show up, and you just keep following it. And I think overall, to, you gotta want the most out of life. You gotta want to juice it. You
Mm.
gotta really, if you, this shit is amazing. We live in, where are we? You know, like we're this little ball fucking, either we're orbiting it or it's orbiting us, right? We don't know this, right? Like
We're a
this
part
is
of it.
right. This is fantastic. So I feel like for me, I keep leveling up because I'm just like, I know that I'm not even touching the full extent of my capacity.
Mm.
You know what I mean? You know, and I feel like things like, physical training help, because you see where you stop.
Yeah.
It's a physical or visceral representation of your mind. You're like, I'm supposed to do 10 and you stopped at 8. You didn't even struggle. You
Mm.
just stopped. Now you got to live with yourself. And it's that awareness about those mundane things that show you where you're at. And you're like, if I do this like that, the likelihood is I do all of these things like that. You know what I
How,
mean?
yeah, I mean, how tied is your physical body to your success, you would say?
Um, I feel like there's ways to do it without challenging the body directly. I feel like I could do, but it's a cheat code for me. Like,
Mm.
because most of the magic happens in the present moment, and that's where the body is stationed. So having it in optimal condition means that you are as present as you can possibly be. Give or take some wrangling of the mind, but you're giving yourself a good head start. You know what I mean? And so, like, that's I'm giving myself a fighting chance by locking in on it like that.
Because
It's just
you're,
good for me, huh?
sorry, go ahead.
No, it's just a good radar for me. You know what I mean? I don't think it's the only way, is what I'm trying to say subtextually, but it definitely works for me.
I mean, I definitely find that if I'm not taking care of my body, everything else is out of whack. Like my whole environment, like if I'm not taking care of my body, sometimes my house is less less clean, like less put together, or of course it's give and take. You can't always have like everything perfect, but I just did the last 3 months. I lost 15 pounds since like January to got
Nice.
got in shape and because had been carrying it since the lockdown and I was just like so fed up and I couldn't move forward since the lockdown. It was like and then I feel like since I stopped drinking, at the beginning of the year, like started eating healthy, working out 3 or 4 times a week and then I started this thing and I just feel like my series is about to finish. It's for me personally, I think if my body's not in shape, I mean, I also take a lot of care of my mind, I guess, too. Like if I'm not meditating or, that's, it's true. It's definitely give and take. I agree with that. But I feel like I'm on like a jet speed, like, I'm going jet speed if my body is doing well.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, okay, just try it once in your life is what I say to people. Just go all the way there once, and if that don't feel great to you, then okay, great. You know what I mean? Like you might just be those people that likes the sedentary, poor circulation. Like that just might be your flow. I mean, it
Who
takes
likes
all
that?
types. But for me, I love the feeling of being a velociraptor. I love that shit. Being completely capable and energized. So much gets discovered and experienced and appreciated from that vantage point.
Yeah, and when I have so many questions to ask you, and it's like I don't even know where to go next, but I think I'm gonna go to Marvel because where when you got Marvel, like at what was going through your mind first of all? What was the reality of what happened afterwards? And what has been your trajectory, yeah, since then?
Um, when I got Marvel, what was that? I lost my shit. I'm glad I lost my shit. I did, and I'm traditionally pretty stoic, man. I've had to be. You know what I mean? Like coming from where I come from, you have to learn to be measured. You know, not go too high, not go too low. You know, so you can. Anyway, so but when I did that, I was like, because the story that led up, it was such a great buildup. You know, I had lost out on the first season. Like they had wanted to book me, but I couldn't do it because of contract with another. Like me, like I grew up with Marvel Comics. I grew up. That was my thing, you know. Part of the reason why I work out so hard is I feel like one day, genetically, I'm going to mutate and turn into something. But you know, I won't know unless I try. You know what I'm saying?
You
So,
are
like,
actually, as we speak, mutating. Like it
you
is
know
a
what I mean? Like, so
yeah.
it's facts and facts. That's the line of reasoning I'm on. So, you know, like it was a big deal for me not to get it the first one, and then to book it the second season after having like a little like I had such a poo poo party after that. It was a rough time. It was great. And it's the story that tells me every time, just be patient.
Yeah.
Just be patient, like chill, enjoy the ride. Like that's the only advice I give anybody. It's like, nope, everything that's happening is making you. Like you need all of that. You need every bump, you need every bruise, you need all of that. Just try to take it with stride.
Mm,
It doesn't have to hurt so much. It doesn't. You can just be like, oh, this is building me.
yeah.
You don't learn through comfort. You
Mm,
don't grow through comfort. Not a lot of shit comes from comfort. It's comfort.
it's
So
true.
you know what I mean? Like, and so like I go to that story every time I am in my story and go, listen, bring it down. What is coming is better than anything that you know what I mean. Because if I would have booked that first season, that character was not as cool. No offense to anybody, it was not as cool
You got
at
like
all.
the fucking coolest character, I think.
You know, and so like this one was like that one was like, yeah, I could do that. I could probably do it good. But this was like, and I got to come back to Harlem. It was just the whole thing. Like I had
Mm,
been in LA all this time, these years fighting and fighting to get my break, and then I break through. And not only do I break through on a Marvel show, which is one of the coolest shows that broke the internet, you know, I get to do it in my backyard.
oh my, that must like, what was your little, your little boy inside of you saying at that moment when you were back there?
Man, I look at like I go back in my archives of things I was posting on Instagram. I was posting dances every 5 minutes because I was in here blasting music. I mean, I already am like, you know, a party, you know, I like to have fun, but like I was ecstatic, you
Yeah.
know, really expressing joy. And it's
Mm,
something to look back on and see how, the purity of that, you know what I mean? Memories are really good for stoking futures, you know? So
mm.
that's a great place to pull inspiration from. It's amazing. Yeah.
And so do you feel like the whole trajectory of your career, like after that completely changed and now you're on this other level of, and how did you stay grounded, at the same time?
Well, the ground comes from. It's not about any of this.
What's it about?
My connection is source, God.
Hmm.
The deeper, call it whatever you want, universe. But the deeper I connect to that, the richer my experience out here. And when I have rich experiences out here, it's only because of that deeper connection. So
Hmm.
if I don't honor this, everything that's a part of the tapestry, then I'm not honoring this, you know, and that connection. And so there's nowhere to go. It's just isness. Like, what am I supposed to be like? Like, I'm now special? No, I have been gifted the reward of being able to flow my agency, you know, like, and so that doesn't make me better. That makes me having progress. You know what I mean? Like, and, you know, as relative to what makes me get up every day. I don't know.
Yeah, but there's still like, that I think that's really important that you say that because you can still be connected, like you can still be a God loving person and have your ego take over, you know what I mean? And yet that hasn't happened to you as far as I can tell. I'm not in your daily life, but you're very obviously you're not the same Mustafa I knew when I was 19, but you're still the core of you is still the same. Like I see the Mustafa who was inspiring me at 19, and it's it's so interesting. Like I don't know our paths and how we just like randomly, not randomly bumped into each other. And when you're saying all this stuff about source and it rings so true. And I feel like without that, yeah, a lot of people get lost. So
I think, I've been fortunate, it's like as much as I've been able to break through, in the industry, I don't know how this sounds, but it's coming from humility. Like I know my talent. I know what I'm capable of doing. I know I can do Oscar winning performance. I know that's completely a part of my matrix, obviously I don't have an Oscar yet, and the main reason why is because I feel that I'm blessed not to, in the
really,
sense
that's
well,
interesting.
yeah, because I think every inch that you gain, that you earn, that you are like, I feel like slow burn is better because all of you comes with, when you do the whoop, there's no time to pack. There's no time to assess, to, button down the hatches. And that's how you lose yourself. So I've been given incremental success, where I can grow into this next level without too much pressure. I've noticed it and I'm really grateful. And so when things don't go my way, I go, okay, good. I'm not ready. I wasn't ready. I was not ready. I have been ready for what I've got. That's it. Um,
Mm.
how happy I am. And I'm like, it dawns on me more and more because at the airport, it's always TSA. They're like, hey, do, and I love people. It's really good. I'm really good with the public, but
Yeah,
I also love just going for a walk in the park,
yeah,
going to the movies by myself. I mean, I could dress up and disguise myself, if I get a little bit too popular, but there were things in my life that I felt I knew that I hadn't considered how they would change. And so
mm.
as I incrementally grew, I became more aware of those things and then set groundwork for making sure that those things are not, that I'm just aware of how that's gonna shift. You know what I mean? And so the blessing is not being too successful, but still being able to do your art. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
then it boils down to what is success. And I'm just like, it's success for me is liking yourself.
Liking yourself.
Yeah, just liking yourself.
That's a good definition.
Yeah, feel like I like this guy. And you're like, oh, hey, I got that. I like, you know what I mean? And there he is everywhere I go.
Right. You can't escape yourself.
This is great. My favorite person's with me all the time. And so, yeah, because at the end of the day, you want the great part so that you can feel away. So you can feel away. You want the relationship so you can feel away. You want the this, that, so you can feel away. So you can just skip ahead and feel away. And then let your reality reflect the feeling you have. You know what I mean? That way, what comes or goes, it just flows. But you remain centered. You remain constant. And that's the practice. You know what I mean? And
Yeah,
so,
right. Because if you got this Oscar and you weren't liking yourself and you weren't, happy in your situation, then you wouldn't appreciate the Oscar, right? You'd just be like, what's next?
right.
Or
And disillusion, like, this Oscar is nothing else going to happen. You know what I mean? Like, I
Hello.
answered. Like, hello, Oscar. You know what I mean?
I'm alive.
Like,
Like,
imbue me with the missing part of me that you were supposed to imbue me with. Um,
right.
right. So yeah, um, yeah. So I feel like I wasn't ready. I'm more ready because
Mm.
there's other things that are, in on my bingo card. But I also know I still have blind spots, and I'm working on that. You know what I mean? So that and so yeah, I feel like it's all working for me. And what I need, what is for me, will be for me when it's supposed to be. And shit, let me just have a good attitude as I go. You know.
I think that's great. How do you deal with the bad attitudes, like in Hollywood, and not digging up shit, but just that was one thing. I live in a small village of 200 people right now in the south of France, and it's hard for me actually even to like go to cities anymore, and I was. I kind of made it to the top of my field, like in the New York Times and things like that. And I just couldn't handle the egos. And so somebody who has remained grounded like yourself and who has also climbed up to the top, like, you are, so, I mean, I don't even have to ask you this question. I know that you have people that surround you that, or maybe not surround you personally, but like where you go to parties and things that probably are annoying as fuck. Or, so how do you deal with that?
Yeah, I mean, it's egos everywhere. There's broken people everywhere. So much unresolved trauma, to say the least, everywhere. I think I just over time, I've just learned to be really objective, to neutralize my not neutral, well, go into neutral and observe
Yeah.
more than I judge. Because
That's
sometimes,
good.
like how the observed is changed by the observer. So I
Mm.
know when I've it's like trial and error, right? So I've noticed like somebody comes up to me, they have an attitude, and I go, oh, they got an attitude. And I go, yeah, well, more attitude comes out of them.
Yeah.
They come up to me, they have an attitude. I go, oh, they're not having a good day. Hey, how you doing? They're like, and I'm like, oh wow, okay, I understand. And they're like, and
And it dissipates.
then right, and they come to you. So
Yeah.
to me, that's the game of life for me. How much can I remain in my energy and and command rather than be demanded?
Mm.
So I'm always like, how can I can just, like you come in my energy field, you're not going to dictate how I'm going to be. You know what I mean? Like, mm-mm. And especially most people who are acting from that place are unconscious. So they're not even doing it from a place of like, it's not intentional. It's a program. So they're
Yeah.
not
Right.
strong enough. If you come in locked in your center and intention, their energy can't beat you. So their energy then becomes it starts to resonate with yours. And so the game again, I'm repeating myself, is to maintain your center. And that's what I do, especially in Hollywood. Oh my God. There's so much emotion all over the place. And I realize, oh my God, so much stakes and things and people, dreams and stuff. It's like raw all over the place. It's like, I see it that way so that I don't go, it's like,
Yeah.
ooh, get all of that. You know what I mean? And a little bit of detachment. That's what meditation's for, right?
Yeah.
Fucking react. And you act.
So, let's talk about social media because I know that a lot of people, this is actually how I built my career. Has been working in social media since the beginning, basically 2010. And so I am, and it's been something that has torn me apart, like inside and out. But also, I appreciate like when I first got into social media, I absolutely loved the idea of it because it was like giving the power back to the people, right? And then I've seen it go through all these different stages. So I have a love-hate relationship with it. How do you view social media? You have a lot of followers. You post It's not like you post quite often, right? So how do you maintain that balance, and like how do you intentionally post versus like yeah, what's your relationship with it in general?
My relationship with like I'm like you when it first started, I was like, this is amazing. I was full on gung ho, and it's funny thing, social media is what taught me about my ego. Like it helped me to transcend my ego because I was like, you get to see firsthand how invested you are in things. Like you can't hide from yourself when you're like checking for likes or that shit that fucking like it pulls out of your human nature. You're just like, and so I use it so much as a tool to really check myself, and yeah, that's been beneficial.
Interesting.
I haven't posted a lot because over this last like 18 months, I've been doing a lot of internal work, and feeling like I want to get to the other side before I really engage again. Because once I do, it's going to be just more intentional. Definitely. I want to share some stuff about healing. Because I feel like a lot of social media is about presenting your best self, and I feel like we as humans, the one thing that we all have in common is that we're really going through a hard time, and that ugly should be the new beautiful, so that we get to see ourselves in one another, so we are not always trying to put on a mask so that we appear to be different than we are to one another. So, like healing is super important for me, and I feel like that's one thing that I want to demystify on social media. And I feel like it's a great place to do it.
Interesting, yeah. Do you have an idea of like how you want to do that, or?
Well, yeah, there's like I'm in talks like of potentially doing a podcast. It might just be something as informal as like dropping videos here and there, just being more informative, sharing more of my own experiences. Like I get up and I put 4 bulbs of garlic, some olive oil, cayenne pepper, lemon and hot water in a blender, and I drink that first thing in the morning. Like,
That's
what
what
is he
people
doing
need.
that for? I'm like, well, you know what? That's why I have no belly fat. You know what I'm saying? And my eyes sparkle because my kidneys and my liver are clean, like stuff like that. So have it be experiential, but also like instructional, informational, of that nature. Because the truth is, the hand that hands the rose always, smells like the rose. So I want to, you know what I mean? Like you remember to do that which you teach. So,
Ah, okay.
you know
I
what I
haven't
mean?
heard that phrase before.
Yeah.
Got it.
So, I feel like I need every bit of inspiration that I can get. You know what I mean? So I'll give it
Yeah.
to, but I think social media is great. It's like any tool. Like we're kids with it. We're like, "Look, look," like acting like apes. It's like, but I feel like we'll ultimately grow into using it. Well. But yeah, we are
How do
definitely.
you use it like up until the healing? How have you used it, and have you gotten gigs from it? Have you gotten, what is it given you
It's giving me
beyond
a
what?
place to just short form creativity is one of the major things. Like making
Mm.
little videos, putting like flows up, um, like, but also have I gotten gigs? Yeah, plenty of people have emailed me and have gone to my IG, and stuff has transpired from that. I feel like it's definitely the way.
Okay.
Yeah, I feel like you should have a strong social media presence. Don't
Okay.
I didn't fight it. I was like, let me not engage until I have a really specific way that I want to do this, which is, I mean, there's pros and cons to trying to wait till it's perfect. But, I kind of just want to get to a place where I felt comfortable, where I felt like whatever I did was just off the cuff, fluent and authentic. You know what I mean? As opposed to, I don't know, me trying to push an idea. I wanted to be like a
Mm.
lifestyle.
But how did you grow your follow? Like, was it, I mean, was it intentional of how you were going to grow your followers? Like, how I mean, yeah, be transparent as possible too. If did you buy any followers or?
No, man, I didn't.
No.
Yeah, I was always like averse to that. And I'm proud of myself for that.
Yeah, I would say.
It's like, man, it's gonna be what it's gonna be. Fuck the
Yeah.
optics. I feel like, well, to be honest, the bulk of my followers came off the heels of Marvel.
Yeah.
When that shit dropped, I think I went from 8,000 followers to like 60,000 in 3 days.
Oh fuck yeah. Wow.
Yeah, like it was like what? Yeah, yeah. I couldn't even believe it. I was like, "What is this?"
I hope you
Um,
turned your notifications off at that point.
I did. I totally did. No, no, not right away. I was still like, look at this. My ego was like,
You're like, wait, I gotta see this.
you know what I'm saying?
Oh,
Scared of it. Yeah,
yeah.
it was pretty overnight in terms of the followers. I mean, it's been
Mm.
weird. It's been up and down. Like people, they get on because like a lot of nerds join. I'm a nerd, so I'm not saying that as derogatory for the sci-fi stuff. And then I start rapping Harlem, and they're like, "What the fuck?" Unfollow. It's like, dang, I'm multifaceted.
Like you have to love all the parts of me if you follow me. Like, come
Stay
on.
with me. Um,
Yeah.
I know I'm definitely polarizing for sure.
And then how did you partner with India Ari?
Wow. Um, India hit me up one day and was like, her people hit me up and was like, India wants you for a music video if you're down.
Mm.
Um, and I was like, what? Like
Such a fan. Yeah.
she legitimately sang me out of some dark places.
Yeah.
Like, strength, courage and wisdom. That song like is etched in my DNA. It's, when my mom died, like I was there. And so like her popping out the blue, it was just like, okay, this makes sense because she was already in my life, heavy. you know,
Wow. Yeah.
and so it's like one of those things, it's sort of par for the course, and I always felt like that too. So yeah, I was like, for sure, I'll do this video, and the song is so beautiful. "Sacred Space" is the name of the song, and I was just honored, very much so. And the irony is, like, the theme of the video is kind of how our relationship is. We are very much aligned in spirit. You
Yeah.
know, aligned, like a deeper connection for sure. We talk all the time about, just the state of affairs of consciousness, of you know what's happening in the ether, shifts, and all of the cycles. Like that's the homegirl for sure. Yeah, I love
Yeah.
it.
Do you feel like this year is a big? I don't know, I'm trying to get too like my shaman actually always tells me she's like, Megan, separate the spirituality from the like the work because it's such a personal thing. But I am curious of your opinion about this. Like
Mhm.
this year, specifically, do you feel that like things have definitely changed? Like, do you feel the shift and what does it mean for you?
Oh yeah, we're fully are now immersed in it. It was talk before, but now we're in it.
Hmm.
Um, I mean, I won't go too far on it, but two generational energies like Pluto and Neptune have shifted.
Hmm.
Pluto's in Aquarius now, which is the collective, having everything to do. So it's transformation of the collective. Pluto's transformation, Aquarius is collective. And last time Pluto was in Aquarius, there was civil wars, there was revolutions, there were people basically, you know, it's not necessarily a good idea to say, oh, this is going to repeat. The energy of the time is just the people saying, enough. These people are taking advantage of us. And so the revolutions could be very peaceful. They could be economic. There's so many ways that, it could transpire. But we're in it, and it's boiling down to, you either shit or get off the pot,
Mm.
that kind of deal. You can already see the destabilizing, all kind of stuff. Like it's in full swing. So this is the time to be as clear, detox your ass, be as clear, be
Mm.
as centered as possible, so you can hear, so you can listen. It's not a time for fear. No, not at all. An amazing time to be alive, because the times before this tumultuousness it was sort of a muffled murder happening. People were like under the pillow going, You know what I mean? That's all it was. But at least we know what's up. It's clear. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? And so things being more out in the open give us a greater chance at dealing with them directly. So, I mean, I'm looking forward to it. I feel like we are born at this time because we have what it takes to deal with it. I don't
Mm.
mean like the law of compensation is obvious everywhere. So we are equipped. We just have to know that we're equipped. Um, Honor the ways that our spirit and our mind and our bodies ask us to keep us in alignment and
And what role do you think artists have here? Especially with like the rise of AI and everything else.
well, I feel like everything is necessary.
Mhm.
I don't feel like oh, let's fight against this. It's like, okay, this now exists. How can I work with this? You know what I mean? And it's not going to go away.
No.
So I want to really understand and make sure that I'm on the crest of the wave, so that I know how to really implement it, and it doesn't show up as some sort of surprise because I was too busy being resistant to it mentally. And I feel like they're gonna, like with everything, the same way the slaves made chitlins, out of the intestines of a pig. There's a way to make a delicacy out of any tough situation, and I feel like that's the nature of the world. We'll see some sort of evolution take place, and uh, I don't know. I would, if I was anybody else, I'd position myself to be a part of the avant-garde and not, a part of the people who are just being affected, you know. And for each person, that's very different. I know that I'm going to show up.
So do you work with AI? Like do you how do you kind of show up with it?
Well, I've been like, I've been using it for structural stuff, like in writing. Uh,
Okay. Yeah.
just like giving me, like, basically it's been good as an external brain, like, so that I can, so if how you mix, some sort of concoction like that, like I pour it into the AI and then it pours back into me. And like each time I sort of think about things slightly different. And I was like, oh yeah, that's right. That was an angle. But
Yeah.
ultimately, you know, I,
Partnership.
I err on the side of myself, but it helps me to just clarify my own thoughts. Um,
Mm.
in a way that maybe having a writing partner would, but without as much opinion. What I'm saying?
It's funny though. I still have this kind of like like deep shame sometimes. Like I use it all the time, and yet I still find myself feeling like kind of ashamed. Like I'm not a real artist. If I'm I have to be careful with it because sometimes I feel like it can be a big crutch. And I think that there is such an importance to going through the process of like getting stuck and then being like, oh, wait a second, what did I really mean to say here? Like, what did and I find myself so quickly now just reaching for AI, kind of like that hit, like, um, so I don't know. I feel, I agree with you. And I also, it's kind of like social media. It's like, I've got
Okay.
to check myself.
Yeah. That resistance I think is normal.
Mm,
I think it's normal. I mean, it's a big shift, man.
yeah.
What we're dealing with right now versus like what we were dealing with like 20 years ago. Like, so like basically the building blocks of our consciousness are like being challenged,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, right.
Like my basic belief in life is like, what? So wait a minute, is this thing alive? Like, what are you talking about? Like, it's like, yeah, there's so many questions, and that's another Pluto Aquarius thing. That's gonna, a lot of interesting dilemmas and questions are gonna arise around, transhumanism and things of that nature, like outside of the box stuff. And yeah, we're in it. We're in it.
But I think it's an important point of view that you have, and I think it's not the one that a lot of people, you don't hear quite often, is that idea that, embrace it and that it's like, yeah, we're in it. And so I think it's an important point of view to have.
Yeah.
how would you define yourself? And do you define yourself? If somebody asked you, like, who is Mustafa Shakir? Like, what do you say?
A channel for divine intelligence.
At a party, you say that?
Yeah, especially at a party. It's one of my tricks. Look at this. Ha! You're looking for Heineken. I got something
They're
else.
like, hold my beer. I love that.
Yeah.
Okay. That's I can't fuck with that. And what would you say to an artist like who's about to give up and they're at their bottom and they don't know where to go. They don't know if they want to continue. Like what would you say to them?
If you're gonna choose a hell to exist in, I would choose the hell that included my art. Because if you quit, there's hell there too. You know? And the truth is, then I think, who is it, Churchill? I don't know who said it. But it's, if you find yourself in hell, like, just keep going. Like, what? Just keep going. Yeah. Like, eventually you'll see a little dot and you'll be like, what is that? I don't know. Keep going. And then it'll be light. And then you'll come out on the side and they'll have cornucopias and bouquets and banquets. And you'll get so fat and like full and you'll be disgusted and you'll dream about being in the dark again.
I was like, keep going through hell?
Yeah. Yeah, hell, like, you know, it's like the seed. It's like it uses the dark and the light to grow. Those dark moments, man, I'm telling you, like let's be clear about this. Like those moments are so important to your craft. They're not happening to you, they're happening for you. Like think about a cake, right? It's like I got these 2 eggs, I got this bag of flour, I've got a jug of milk, and I've got this stick of margarine. I've got to like burn the butter, melt it, pour it over this flour. I've got to break these eggs. And then I got to, put the sugar in, and I got to beat the fuck out of this batter to make it smooth. And then I got to put it in a hot ass oven for a time. So it just like, you know what I'm saying? Like that's the pain. Ow! Break. That's the eggs breaking, the sugar scraping over you. Like that's all it is. And so if you can withstand that, because it's not forever, nothing is, you'll have cake.
It's so fucking hard though when you're in the oven.
I know.
Right.
And that's why the cemetery is filled with people with great ideas.
And that's why it was easier for Hitler to start World War II than be an artist.
Exactly right. Exactly. Wow. Yeah, that was a heavy hammer.
Yeah, I was just about to end them being like, Mustafa, like you're such a light, and then I had to go bam, like Hitler. Like
I like that though. That's actually perfect because that's where I'm at. Dark and light, baby. I ain't trying to. I don't no preference.
But your voice is so important in the world, and I'm so honored that you came on here. I don't say that lightly because, like, I just hope that people watch this, just watch it, like, in general, because all the things that you said, like, I have probably 15 million things that I'm gonna, like, post, and minds are gonna be blown, and so, yeah, I hope that you do keep, like, I'm excited to see what you do next, and I'm excited to see what you do on social media next. Yeah. I'm excited to see what you create next. We didn't talk about your process. There's so many other questions, but I guess we'll have to. Yeah. What's that?
You gotta do a part 2.
Yeah, exactly.
That's all. Yeah.
Exactly. Well, thank you, Mustafa. It's really been great.
Honored.
Any last words?
Be yourself.
My mom says.
Peace.